Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 116. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. Time truly is our greatest asset. And the fact that you're willing to share and invest your time with me truly does mean a great deal. So thank you for being here. You know, as a coach, I hear and pick up on trends and things that are happening. And today's conversation is no different. I want to share some of the lessons that I've learned really over the past few decades as a coach, and also just about some timely things that are going on. And this is the time of year when a lot of us who are business owners, or even just somebody looking to have a better life, take a moment to reflect on what they forecasted that they were going to do for the year versus what actually happened. And unfortunately, I think it's fortunate, we discover some things that we regret that we either did or didn't do in this process. And as weird or odd as this may sound, is I love the fact that there is an experience of regret for one reason. If you have regret around something, to me, it means that it holds a lot of value to the point that it creates the emotion of regret. If it wasn't important to you and you didn't do it, you really wouldn't care about it. However, if you're experiencing the emotion of regret, to me, that is one of the biggest signs that you could receive that the thing you're having regret about carries a ton of value. And so I want us to take the next time here that we have together to really look at and honor regret in a way that maybe you haven't in the past. Because what I know to be true is people tend to regret the same thing over and over and over because it's a negative experience and they want to shy away from it. They want to push it away. They don't want to dive into it because it may make them have some hard conversations with themselves. So we tend to ignore it. And when we do that, all we're doing is setting ourselves up for repeat behavior, that we're going to do the same thing and have the same regret over and over and over. And I don't want that to happen to you. Regret is really a valuable tool. So we're going to talk about how can you manage and empower yourself through regret, which I think is really important and something that most of us don't do. So I'm going to invite you to do it with me today. So number one is, like everything else that I talk about, I want you to think about the lessons that we can extract from regret instead of ignoring it, right? When you are looking to learn and improve, a lot of times we have to look at the negative. And regret is typically viewed as negative, but for me, it's not. It's viewed as, hey, this is a flashing sign. This was important. So extract the lesson from the regret. What is it? What maybe was the unmet need behind the decision I made that's causing me to hold regret, or the wish I would have, I wish I could have, I should have, whatever it is that is causing you to experience that? There's a lesson in there. And instead of saying, gosh, I do this all the time. This is year after year. I do the same dang thing and I have the same amount of regret or wish I could have, should have, would have. And I have a ton of judgment. And I think that I'm just that person who's never going to get it right. I'm just that person who's going to continue to fail. Instead of that, turn the regret into data. That's it. That's all it is. Regret is a flashing warning sign that something happened that we need to learn from and extract the data. So what positive information or intention might be behind my experience of regret or wish I would have, could have, should have? Really important. It's a data point. It's not a definition. All right. That I think is critical. It's a signal. I talked about this in the last podcast, I believe, one or two podcasts ago, that, it's like a warning sign on the dashboard of your car. That's what I view regret as. It's just a sign that is flashing that something has gone wrong, or warning something is going to go wrong. Think of regret as that. It's just a signal. It's not failure. It's value. There's a lot of value in what we have regret around. Number two thing that we need to do to contain or to fix the regret so we don't repeat it again is to maybe take some micro actions to close the loop. So regret tends to linger or appear when we have unfinished business. So true, right? If I think about my business over the last year, I've got a couple of regrets. I had every intention to take action with my sphere of influence, right? My database, to grow it in a different way. I had an idea of how I was going to do it. I didn't do it. And I have some regret about it. And it just kind of lingers until I address it. And so for me, that's one of the things I'm going to work on. For you, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is it that you wish you would have done? Or that you have regret that you didn't do, or you have regret that you did? It's really important because that is going to allow you to take some micro actions to close the loop around that regret. It might be something as simple as I didn't sign up for a class I wanted to take that would make me a better leader. I didn't sign up for a class that was going to teach me how to do this cool hobby I've been wanting to do. I didn't send a message to that person that I feel wronged me or that I might have wronged. I didn't send a message, or I didn't share my truth. I kept it hidden because I wanted to fit in, right? There could be a lot of things that cause regret to linger. And one of the best ways that you can address it is to close the loop on it. So maybe you don't have the chance to go back and talk to the person that you wronged or that wronged you. Maybe you just need to write a letter to them and never mail it, right? It can be a symbolic action of closing the loop, writing it out as if you were going to send it to them, being very honest, and then you burn the letter, you put it in the shredder, you tear it up, whatever, or you send it to them, but you close the loop on it. Or you decide that from this point forward, you're going to tell your truth regardless, because you're not too worried about people not liking you. And it's not that you're going to be a jerk, but you're going to share your truth. And the more you can share your truth, the more authentic you can be and the less regret you have. So some micro actions to close the loop. So for me, in that instance of the action that I didn't take, the one thing that was really important and I didn't do it, I have regret about not doing it, because if I would have started it last January, 10 months in or 11 months in now, I'd be so much further ahead, and I have regret that I didn't do it. So how am I going to close the loop? I'm going to go back and really sit with, why didn't I take action? What was it about it? Was I not clear? Was I lacking clarity? What caused me to not take action? Because if I have regret, it's important. And in order to fix it, I need to figure out why I didn't do it. I'm intelligent. I'm smart. I know that whole set of activities that I had lined out for that would work had I just done it. But there's something that stopped me from doing it. So I've got to close the loop. I've got to go back and revisit, what is it that kept me from taking action? So those little micro actions, and it is something I'm going to talk to my coach about, to say, hey, I didn't do this. I need some help extracting and excavating why I didn't, so I can close the loop on this, so I can do it, decide to either do it next year or to take it off my strategy. It's that simple. Number 3, we tend to regret actions more in the short term. I wish I would have. I wish I didn't, right? We hear that a lot. The regretting actions more in the short term are more the wish I wouldn't have. I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. The regret of inaction is more a long-term regret. So you might regret, like, gosh, I wish I would have done that 5 years ago. I wish I would have completed my certification. I wish I would have, right? You wish you would have taken action about long-term past things. So we regret both actions and inactions. It's just when they show up. So regretting taking action happens more in the short term. Regretting not taking action happens in the long term. And how can we really kind of address those regrets is important. And one of the ways, the third thing I want to talk to you about, is something to do with time travel. So no, we're not going to have a conversation about how we can go back in time and find the portal to our past, but I am going to talk to you about how you can mentally revisit your past. And I think it's really important. If, let's say, you regret taking an action, you regret saying what you said to somebody, or you regret, something that hurt someone, right? Is to mentally revisit that moment of regret. So you don't just say, well, I regret it. Go back to the moment. Go back to the moment that it happened, that you were taking the action that you regret. And with your current wisdom, ask yourself, what would I tell that version of me now? Because this is what I know to be true. If we did something, the regret doesn't usually show up 2 months later. It happens in the moment. Like if you say something or do something that you're going to have regret about, it's not delayed. It's usually in the moment. As soon as you say it, as soon as you do it. What I do know is your mind is unconsciously working on that over and over and over. You may not know it, but it is. And you're collecting and gathering wisdom and data points along the way. What could I have done differently? What was a true story? All that stuff. So if you can time travel back to that moment using your current wisdom, what you're doing is not only using your current conscious, you're using your current unconscious. And there's so much to be learned in that. Is really just spend that time. What would I tell that version of me with my current knowledge now? What I love about this is it's going to strengthen your self-compassion, showing you were making the best decision you could with the awareness you had in that moment. A lot of times we do stuff out of anger or a reaction, and we can have regret around it, but take time to go back to that and think, okay, now that I know better, what would I do differently? That's important. Number 4 is use regret as a compass. And what do I mean by that? So regret is really a reflection of what matters most to you. It's what I started this podcast with. If it's important enough that you have regret about it, it's important that we reflect on it because we care about it. It's an unmet need. So if maybe it's you regret that this past year you didn't spend enough time with your family, all right, we're just going to reflect on that. And that to me, if I regret that, I've betrayed maybe a core value of mine, that it's about work and family or about family and work. And I didn't honor that. So use it as a compass, reflect on what matters most to you. If you regret staying silent, like maybe you regret that you just didn't say something in a team meeting or to someone who was challenging you or somebody that was really being difficult to you and you just stayed silent, maybe you deeply value authenticity and you need to reflect on what you are upset about, right? That regret, to learn that really I stayed silent. And the really thing that I'm regretting is that I betrayed my authenticity. So using regret as a compass is, again, a great way to learn and extract what the lesson was and is that can help you move forward. So let regret refine your decision-making lens moving forward. So if you find yourself in the same situation as staying silent, use regret to refine your decision-making. If I'm staying silent, it means that I am not valuing my authenticity and I'm going to do it differently. So use it as a compass. Truly, truly important. The number 5 thing, which I love, this is a NLP-ish activity. A lot of this is, but rehearse bravery. All right. So if there's something you regret, that you stayed silent because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or you said something and you hurt somebody's feelings, rehearse bravery, meaning your future. All right. So I've talked to you about this before in other podcasts. Your brain really doesn't know the difference between real and make-believe. That's why I love writing letters to your future self as if the activity is already done and you're experiencing all the feelings and emotions and the positive impact of that activity on you as if it's done. It's done. You've achieved it. It's over. Your brain doesn't view that as make-believe. It just is like, cool, I know I can do it. This is how I'm feeling. This is amazing. And now when we go back to now time, it's going to help you get to that goal quicker. Same thing about regret. If regret were a teacher, right? So think about that. If regret were a teacher, what would it want me to do differently next time? So go back to whatever you're having regret, wish I would have, could have, should have, and practice taking bold action that is aligned with all your values in a future similar situation. So go back to your regret and say, if this would happen again, right? What would it take for me in bold actions that are aligned, bold steps to move forward and honor what I wanted to do or honor what was happening and I knew better? What would I have to do? Because here's what will happen. The brain will be like, oh, cool, we did it. It's done, right? If you envision those activities in the future, your brain's going to rehearse it as if it's done. And so when it does come up, on an unconscious level and a conscious level, you know exactly what to do, and you're more likely to take the right action so that we don't have regret about the same thing. You will repeat over and over and have regret about the same thing until you resolve it. So traveling back and traveling forward are really important steps in breaking the cycle of regret. Most people that I talk to that regret something, it's a repeat occurrence. It's a repeat offense that they're having regret about. I always respond emotionally and I hurt people's feelings. I always, whatever it is, we got to address it in reverse and in the future. So it helps rewire your brain and gives you more empowerment in your behavior. And it's a lot easier. You just respond almost automatically in a positive way, in a bold way, action steps moving you forward because you've conditioned your brain that it's already happened and you've done it and you've worked through it and it's great. Number 6 thing is forgiveness is freedom. We hear about this all the time. You don't forgive somebody else for them. You forgive them for you. So you can move forward. But when we have regrets, we're really looking at self-forgiveness. So self-forgiveness doesn't erase the regret, right? But it's about it no longer defining you. It's like giving yourself some grace in the forgiveness process, because if you do the other steps, you're not going to repeat and have regrets again. So there's forgiveness in the freedom of letting the regret go. Forgive yourself, right, for not knowing what you didn't know. You were, a lot of times what we do, 92% of what we do is conditioned habitual behavior. And so that's why I say the regret's going to repeat itself until you address the issue. And so you may not have ever taken the time to extract the lesson from regret until now. And the value of that is you're going to forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. And you're going to honor who you've become since. And if you combine that with the future pace, it's going to change things for you. You're going to have less regrets and you're going to have more I kicked ass moments because you've addressed whatever it is that's holding you back. And the last thing I'll say to do, and this is a personal thing, and I don't know if this is because I'm a coach, I don't know if it's just because I get this, but I think we need to share our lessons with others, right? That we have regrets. So sometimes as a coach, people think I have it all together, right? And I share often my failures. I share that I didn't do the activity that I said I was going to do, right? And I have regrets about that. And I've worked through it. I've done all of these steps that I'm talking to you about. But if I held that in and didn't share, you wouldn't know that you're not the only one that lives in a place of regret at the end of the year or when something happens. So I think it's important for us to share that. And I really think it's important for us to do that now more than ever, because we're exposed to social media at a really high level and nobody is talking about their failures on social media. It's all highlight reel, highlight reel, highlight reel. And a lot of times you can sit here and think, I must be the only person in the world that wish I would have done it differently. Because everybody else is kicking butt. They're reaching their goals. They're on these dream vacations. They bought a house. They bought a new sports car. They did all this stuff. And you're simply sharing with others your experience of regret can allow them to now share their experiences with you. And who knows, maybe you can say, hey, there's a great podcast you should go listen to. It's all about this. And it's about how you can address regret so you don't repeat the cycle over and over. And you can help somebody. So not that we want to run down the streets or post every day about negative things or things that we regret, but I do think it's something we don't do enough as a society anymore, is to share our struggles. And that one conversation can change somebody's life. It's why I do the podcast. It's why I became a coach. It's because maybe this podcast about regret is going to change one person's life. And that's the reason I did it. And maybe them knowing that I don't live in this perfect world as a coach with all it, like he's got all these resources, all these tools, all these certifications, and he has regret. I mean, if he's got regret, and I've got regret, then we're just kind of humans experiencing life, right? And I learned that early on as a coach. If you don't share your failures with your clients, they can't relate to you. And so I think that's important that we share some of our challenges, especially with our front row people or our core group of friends, is that we are having those transparent conversations. Hey, it's the end of the year. I was reflecting on some things I did and I had a lot of regrets, but I learned what to do with it. Help somebody else get there. So in a way, I'm saying share this podcast with as many people as you can, because if you're a living human being, you've got regret about something. You just do. And you may not be aware that you're repeating that cycle over and over. And you're going to continue to repeat that cycle and create regret moving forward if you don't use the steps that I talked about. Closing the loop, going back in time, going forward in time. There's some really great exercises that you can do. Extracting data, not making it a definition of who you are, but using it as a data point. There are so many powerful things that you can do to turn regret into a great resource for yourself. I've said this before, and I think it shocks people. I will say to people, I hope you go out and fail. And that may sound harsh, right? And it's kind of the same thing. I hope you are aware of the regrets you have, because there's so many valuable nuggets in that. If you failed, to me as a coach, I want to celebrate the fact that you took action and you did something. That's the only reason you failed. If you never failed, chances are you're not doing anything. So if you failed, all that simply means to me is you tried something that didn't work. Great. Let's extract the data from it and figure out how to do it better. Same thing with regret. I hope you take a minute and look at all the things that you regret, and don't judge yourself. Show yourself some grace and use it as a tool to do better. I promise you, until you do, you're going to relive the same regret over and over and over, because you're not taking the time to learn from it. So regret shows me really honestly where I care deeply, right? It's not my weakness. It's my compass. I want you to think about that. Regret shows me where I care deeply. It's not my weakness. It's my compass. Regret's a beautiful thing if you take the lessons from it. It's a bad thing if you keep repeating it. All right, team, if you have a question about this or anything else, you know how to get a hold of me, Tony@rethinkcoaching.com. Go make it a great week. Look at the regrets. Use the tools so that we can move forward into the next year in a more powerful way. Thanks for being here.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.